안녕하세요. 강남 영국인입니다.
Hey everybody, this is Gordon back with you for another walk and talk. I'm in Gangnam in the usual space, but I have come to a place because it's the start of April that has some cherry blossom. So you'll see hopefully a little bit in the background along this video, the cherry blossom which has already fallen down, kind of looks like a confetti after a wedding. Today I want to talk to you about the unexpected challenges of doing business globally or overseas. I think that the general perception is that we are in a global world. We can jump on a Zoom or a video call at any time with anybody anywhere in the world. But the reality is that just by being connected with people doesn't mean that we can work with them or that our business, no matter what it might be, is going to succeed in that country or overseas region. And the reality is that in Korea, there have been an absolute string over the years of very sizable failures of big international businesses that have not been able to succeed in Korea. And I would argue that perhaps some of them have not been as flexible as they could. It's easy to say, oh, we are a big international company and we have been successful doing it our way in X number of countries. But the reality is that if you are trying to go into a new market, you have to accept some conditions and be more flexible in order to do that, especially in a market that is as unique as Korea. And so if you're accepting that Korea is your target and you want to move into that market and make it happen, you're going to have to accept some ways of doing business in Korea. And some of these things that I actually only learned along the way in terms of how flexible you have to be. If you're expanding to a country which is relatively similar to your home nation, you don't have to be as flexible, you won't have to change as many things. But when you're expanding further overfield, further to a very, very different kind of market with very, very different culture, then it's going to be rather difficult to keep doing things the way you've always done things. One of the examples, for example, that I have is with business cards. In Europe now, business cards are not really used so much. They're certainly not an important part of business. And when I meet European business people who come over to Korea, they go into their wallet and they fish out a crumpled, old, ragged business card. And really, this is a kind of first impression that you're giving somebody, that your business card is representing you. At least in Korea, that is the perception. Whereas in Korea, of course, the business card needs to be crisp, it needs to be fresh, it needs to be well presented, and it needs to be up to date. And you need to have enough of them. So that's just one small example that I found from doing business in Korea. Another one is with bowing. So bowing is a formal greeting. It happens, and in Korea, the lower the bow, the more formal and respectful it is. And so still in office environments, you will see bowing towards managers and senior managers. It's diminishing slightly over time, but it's still very much here. And I remember my first piece of work experience in Korea. I was walking with my manager inside the office, and this was a senior guy who didn't have many people above him in the organization. Consequently, he didn't really bow to many people, whereas other people tended to bow to him. And as we turned a corner, he actually all of a sudden bowed incredibly deeply, almost a full 90-degree bow. And in that split second, I realized that whoever he had just seen must be incredibly important in the organization. And so, without a moment's notice, without hesitation, I also did the same. I was not necessarily in the habit of making such low bows all the time when meeting people, but in this moment I knew that it could be significant. I did so, I copied him, emulated the same level of bow, and it turned out that it was the owner of the company of one of Korea's largest organizations who was making a special visit. The great thing was that she had heard about me being the foreign employee, and she was then also incredibly impressed that I knew a little bit about Korean business culture, and I was able to show that in that first greeting. And so impressions really matter, and first impressions the world over are still very important. And so this kind of flexibility to do things in the local way can be very important. And I think that in a country that does not have quite as much globalized business going on, a little can go a long way. And so that's just something that I want to suggest, that when you are doing business in Korea, if you have a person on the ground who can guide you and advise you on these kind of things, you're going to be much better to be able to enter that market successfully. That's just a couple of little things I wanted to say about doing business internationally. Take care and see you in the next video.